It was sort of, again, I think to my point, or what I recognized was like, oh, athletics and sports is one of the few socially sanctioned spaces where we're allowed to look at male bodies and really look at them and like analyzing them and analyzing what they're doing and really tying what they look like to what they do, right? So when we talk about a swimmer's build, we're talking about a specific kind of look, but it's a specific kind of look that's designed to be more agile or to get like right, like think of Michael Phelps and his wingspan, and sort of like the idea that the body, so long as we see it as instrumental, then it's something that we can analyze. But of course, us gay boys are not just analyzing for that or for how far they can jump or how far they can run or how fast they can run, but we're looking for other things, and especially in the way that athletic gear, again, because it's under the guise of keeping supporting you or making you more agile, or like the wrestling was literally designed because I think it's the only way that you can cover the main bits that you're not supposed to see, right? So the nipples and the genitals and the ass, and sort of that's at an elemental level, the wrestling singlet is sort of the most prudish thing that a man could wear, but it's also most revealing.
But I think, yeah, that absolutely. What I don't want to do here is like set up a dichotomy between like the wholesome and the bacchanalian. You know, as if like there's a value judgment about either of those things. Yeah. But I do think a lot of Fire Island is like a sort of the interplay between the two of those things, that like one minute you might be at an orgy in the meat rack and the next you're like making a nice meal with your friends. People come to Fire Island for really different things, and there absolutely are stereotypes about it as this like wildly hedonistic space. And I do think that, you know, there is a party culture that is really about that, but there are loads of people who come to Fire Island, queer people, like, you know, in particular queer people who don't feel represented by those spaces or necessarily the most welcome in those kind of like party spaces, that come for very different things. They come to create art, or to be with their friends, or to be with their partners or their lovers. And so I think, I think perhaps the people who jump to conclusions about it feeling like an orgiastic space might be surprised by some of the more sort of like even just kind of ordinary vacation-like scenes that you see on Fire Island, right? That it's not just like, you know, relentlessly hedonistic.
Yeah.
In the past, we did over the summer an issue that was devoted to kind of like new media. So, and I think it was really good that we were able to talk about the world of gay-oriented video games, and
I think you had comic books,
and fanzine type stories. And there was also an article on Grindr. Is something that is an important part of our culture. You know, I think it's something that we can talk about as however you feel about it. You know, I think it's you know, it's the way guys meet each other now. Let's face it, along with Scruff and maybe one or two others. Yeah. I grew up and came out in a world of gay bars, and that was it. And it's now a different world, but that's fine. And that's something that, you know, that's something that we have looked at a lot, because certainly the media, mass media, social media, Grindr, etc., have had a great impact on our culture and are very central to our culture now.
Like, I think it's very telling that the movie ends with her jokingly going to her gynecologist, because part of it is it's saying like, oh, like before we even get to the idea of having sexual organs and having desire, which like she doesn't desire Ken, right? She like desires just being herself. And so there is a kind of like an inward turning focus. It's like a really deeply woman identified movie that's about her own relationship to herself and her friends, that is not about eroticism. It's like about social attachment. So the movie kind of separates sexuality out from gender, and it says, look, like we need to deal with gender sometimes as its own problem in the world. And so if there is any identity in the movie, it's man and woman, right? Like that's really like the movie in this moment that we're living in that is so about like gender's transitivity, it's like non-binary experience, all of this. The movie dares to say, actually, enough people in the world still self-identify as men and women, even if those categories are socially constructed, that like we have to reckon with the existence of men and women and their relationship to each other. Like that, I think, is an amazing aspect of the movie. And that's really where the identity politics of the movies are, is in the relationship between men and women and themselves.